When we talk of democracy, we mean true representation, and the parliament is the place, and therefore the people must be informed. A program that brings to you expert clarifications and teachings of parliamentary concepts and procedures. Welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
On Parliamentary Guide, we'll teach, we explain, we clarify parliamentary concepts and terms.
Not violence of run oversight over the executive. Not violence of run oversight over the executive.
Hello and welcome to Parliamentary Guide, the program that enlightens you on parliamentary processes, procedures, and issues. I am Mitaire Ikben. On the program today, our focus is on review of the standing orders of the House, and our Parliamentary Guide is Ranking Member of the House and Chairman, House Ad Hoc Committee on Review of the Standing Orders, as well as Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Appropriations, Honorable Iduma, Enwo, Igariwey, who represents Afikpo North and Eda Federal Constituency from Ebonyi State. Honorable Igariwey, we thank you so much for coming on Parliamentary Guide.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Yeah, first things first, what are the standing orders of the House and why do they need review from time to time?
Well, the standing orders, to describe it to a layman, is the green small book you often see members clutching. Every member carries his standing orders. Then you can see members also carrying a copy of the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution. Those are the companions of every parliamentarian because those are the tools with which we conduct our business, either in plenary or in committee sessions. The standing orders is the guidebook. It's like the compass that guides our deliberations, like I said, either in plenary or in committee proceedings. Now we have what we call sources of procedural authority. The number one, the apex, at the apex is the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution. It is part of the procedural authority that guides legislators in this country. Then the second is the standing orders. We have our own, the Senate have their own. So the standing order is what guides our conduct, how we proceed with our proceedings. That's the standing order of the House of Representatives. And it is often that at the commencement of every session, we were inaugurated in June, it is often the procedure or the practice that we review our standing orders because this is a new session, this is a new term. The last term was the 9th House of Representatives. This is the 10th House of Representatives. Now, because events are dynamic, there are certain things contained in the 9th edition that the present parliament may not be too comfortable with. They may want to tweak it one way or the other. So one of the first things a new term begins with is to constitute an ad hoc committee to look at the existing standing orders to see whether it still meets the necessities, the demands of the new term. So that is why you often see an ad hoc committee set up to look at the previous standing order. So what this ad hoc committee is doing is reviewing the previous standing order, which is the 9th standing order. So we are going to call the 10th standing order. We are going to come out with an 11th edition of the standing orders for this 10th House of Representatives.
Okay, very often we hear on the floor of the House members, when they want to move a motion, calling for a suspension of a rule or an order of the House to be able to entertain that motion. Why is this so? Is it not possible for the standing orders to just have these rules once and for all rather than to have it suspended to be able to accommodate a motion?
Like I said, this handbook guides our procedure. We are committed to it. It's like our religious book. So if you must deviate from it in any manner or shape or form whatsoever, you must ask that. It's like, let the house permit, subject to the house's permission, let us deviate from this provision. You can only deviate from an existing provision. It's a temporary order you are seeking from the speaker, who eventually rules on it, and the leave of the house. So you are asking, please let us suspend this for the time being and entertain or accommodate this new thing I want to do, which probably is a little bit or deviates a little bit from how it is in black and white in the standing orders. So that is why you often seek the leave of the house, presided over by the speaker, to deviate from any of the rules as written in the standing orders. So that's the basis for making that application, which the speaker rules one way or the other. If the speaker thinks that your application is sustainable, the speaker will allow you to have that particular order suspended so that you can proceed. But the speaker also is at liberty, because his word is final, to overrule you and say, well, we are not going to suspend our rules. You have not made a compelling argument for us to suspend our rules. So the speaker is still at liberty to rule one way or the other whether that application to suspend is going to be sustained or whether it is going to be rejected.
Okay, now we are set to have a new edition of the standing orders of the House. What are the highlights of this new edition?
Well, one of the highlights I think that is worthy of mention is a new Order 5, Sub Rule 3, that we have decided to introduce, that will permit this House to entertain emergency sittings. Up till now, we don't have it in our rule book, a circumstance whereby we can sit virtually. You can see that in the past, not too long ago, we had the COVID pandemic, and it shut down the economy, it shut down almost the world. But no country can just be shut down completely. And Parliament, being a very critical arm of the tripod, it is often very necessary that a provision is created where Parliament can sit even under difficult circumstances. There can be threat of war, for instance. There can be a major disaster, a catastrophic issue in the country, an emergency situation. We must provide it in our rules where we can sit at different places where it is very difficult or almost impossible to meet in plenary. We want to create a provision where we can sit virtually and through electronic means continue our business as legislators. So for me, that is the highlight. Well, that's one of the important provisions we have proposed for consideration. Well, another thing we can also mention is that the House, being a dynamic House and following the Constitution, section, of course, you know, we run a committee system. Section 60 of the Constitution, 62 of the Constitution allows us to run a committee system. And the same section also allows us to expand the number of committees. Section 62 sub 2 allows us to expand the number of committees and create jurisdictions for them. So we have done that in this particular circumstance. And the aim is to ensure that that other very important aspect of our assignment, which is oversight, that we properly conduct oversight over ministries, departments, and agencies. So in the 10th edition of our standing orders, we had a total number of 109 standing committees. Right now, we are going to have at the end of the day about 139 standing committees, which is it means we have some new committees, about 30 something new committees we have added. So I think that is also a new situation that is worthy of mention in the assignment we have done. Of course, we have also tried to rearrange the 10th edition. In some cases, we have tried to be a little bit, with respect, let me use the word, more elegant in our drafting. We have also tried to abridge certain aspects, for brevity's sake. There are some sections we have decided to merge just to be more brief in presentation and more elegant in presentation. So I think at the end of the day, we intend and we think that we have produced a reviewed document that will meet the expectations of members, and that will get the support and buy-in of members. That's what we expect at the end of the day.
Okay, great. The one that has to do with emergency sitting, that's quite interesting. And I recall that when the issue came on the floor of the House, some members felt that emergency sitting is the term is quite ambiguous. So, what did your committee conceive in mind, or can you clearly define that situation of emergency sitting and the process for convening such an emergency sitting?
Thank you very much for drawing my attention back to the 7th of November. Yes, that's the first day the report came for consideration. It was the first issue that came up. And, well, most things that are new often come to people as a surprise. A lot of people had their worries or concerns about that provision, especially in terms of whether it was possible to abuse it in future. But we also saw some safeguards, for instance, that it's only the speaker that can trigger such an emergency meeting. But summarily, it was rejected by members on that first day. But I think, consistent with our rules, the moment a matter is over, it's ruled on, you don't go back to it except through a fresh motion for rescission. So the next day, I think everybody had a better thought about it. People slept over it. And generally, it was felt that we needed to bring it back. So it has been brought back on the basis of a motion to rescind. So it has been rescinded. But let me also add a few things. Your question is, what have we done? What we have done, which will come as an amendment of what we proposed initially, is that we have tried to define what is emergency situation. We have defined it, and it will be contained in the document. Initially, there wasn't that. We just felt that emergency situation was something anybody will know. It's an emergency situation. But members, I think, are going to feel more comfortable by a definition of emergency situation. So we have defined emergency situation, which includes maybe the threat of war, the catastrophic natural disaster, and such things. So there is now a definition of emergency situation. We have also defined the mode of meeting. We have defined the mode of meeting. How do we meet? There's a definition of that. We have also defined the mode of voting. Since it is going to be virtual, mode of voting is likely going to be electronic. So we have made these additions. Definition of emergency meeting, mode of meeting, and mode of voting. So those are the new things we have added, which in the next date of consideration of that report will bring afresh to members for consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. The program is still Parliamentary Guide, and we've been getting a lot of education and information from our Parliamentary Guide, Honorable Iduma Enwo Igariwey. At this point, we'll take a short break, and when we return, the conversation continues.
Are you looking for a short channel to make your business, goods and services go viral? Look no further, as NTA Parliament is your short channel. Take advantage of our wider reach and advertise your products and services on NTA Parliament DSTV channel 370, GoTV channel 126, StarTimes channel 306, and Free TV channel 706. For more inquiries, contact the Marketing Department, NTA Parliament, NTA Headquarters Area 11 Garki, Abuja, or call these numbers 080-383-40464 or 080-770-78055. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Parliamentary Guide, and we have as our guide ranking member of the House and Chairman House Ad Hoc Committee on Review of the Standing Orders of the House, Honorable Iduma Enwo Igariwey, who represents Afikpo North and Eda Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives from Ebonyi State. Honorable Igariwey, thanks for being there for us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, let's continue from where we left off just before the break. Do you think that emergency sitting as conceived by your committee can be abused in any way?
Well, I think there are substantial safeguards to guard or guide against abuse. One, it's clearly stated that it's only the speaker in consultation with his leadership colleagues that can trigger such a meeting. So it means that an ordinary member like me cannot wake up and conspire with a few other people to convoke such a meeting. So it's only the speaker. So it's still like the normal sitting where only the speaker presides when he is there in chambers and sits on his chair, looking at his gavel and all that. So in this case, it is only the speaker in consultation with the members of the leadership that can initiate such an emergency meeting. So I don't think there is any worries or fears or possibilities of mischief. I don't think so.
Okay, as a new rule which your committee proposed, it says that the minimum number of members of a committee shall be 20 and the maximum shall be 40. What informed this decision by your committee?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, let me make it clear that the House, under the Constitution, Section 60 of the Constitution, is empowered to regulate its proceedings. It's also contained under Rule 1 of our House rules. What it means is we take decisions as we deem fit and expedient, depending on the circumstances. So it means the House can decide to take note of certain circumstances. Like now we have new members. We also have a legislative agenda that emphasizes very rigorous oversight, where we intend to oversight ministries, departments, and agencies much more closely, so that the Nigerian people get value for appropriations made to these ministries, departments, and agencies. So the House, and you know we have 360 members. It's unlike the Senate where you have about 109, I think. Okay. So what it means is definitely we are going to have more committees than the Senate. So it may be out of place to compare the number of committees in the House of Reps with that of the Senate. Particularly in this circumstance, we have decided, based on our own thinking, that it will be manageable for every committee to have a minimum number of 20 persons and a maximum number of 40 persons. So we are a bit flexible on the membership. So there are some committees you may find that you have 20, 25, 30 members, 40 members. There are some that you may have 40 members. For instance, there are some committees you actually need one person from every state. There are such committees, like Committee on Constitutional Review. You need every member from every state. I'm just giving you an example. There are other committees that's like appropriation, for instance. You need a member from every state. So in such committees, you won't have anything about 20. You must have from 36 to 40. So it's just a matter of convenience for the House, considering the number of members we have, and then other circumstances that are also into consideration.
Okay, your committee also proposed that no member of the House shall belong to more than 12 committees, although there's a caveat that except with the express authorization of the Speaker. What, what, what are the reasons behind this new rule?
Well, there has to be order, and there has to be a systemic way, a systematic way of doing things. So if you just allow members to go to committees as they wish, you may see some kind of lopsidedness. So the committee system is structured in such a way that you have a balance. So in this case, we have a maximum of 12 committees available to a member. The reason is very clear, so that people can also have a number of committees that they can effectively belong to. The essence is effectiveness. It doesn't make sense that you belong to 15 committees, 20 committees, and you have other things to do. So we have made it mandatory that the maximum number of committees for every member to belong to is 12. Now, the caveat you referred to, which is membership subject to approval by the Speaker, is that it is not uncommon that you find a committee chairman who wants the services of a particular member, maybe because that member is an expert. We have members who are pilots. You have members who are specialists in several skills. So Chairman Aviation may decide to bring this special member who is a pilot into his committee on aviation. We have retired major generals here as members, or soldiers. Somebody in the committee of army or defense or air force or navy may say, please, or even a member may say, I want to belong to this committee, and these are my reasons. So he can go and convince Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker at his discretion can approve such an application. So it still shows the dynamism in the system, that things are not just in straitjackets. So under some circumstances, instead of a member just waking up and crossing to another committee, we want a situation where record is taken that Mr. Speaker has permitted that this member should belong to that committee, maybe for one special skill or the other that he or she possesses. So those are just some of it's just to show how dynamic the system is, or the process is.
Okay, there is also this issue of some committees having maybe related functions or issues or overlapping responsibilities. What did your committee propose to avoid clash of any kind or overlapping responsibilities?
Yes, if you consider the overall number of committees, here we are talking about 139 committees, and you consider the number of ministries we have, which I don't think we have up to 50 ministries, you find out that under 50, you find out that it is inevitable that 2 or 3 committees would have a ministry to oversight. So it's normal. In that case, it's also in our rules that there is always a lead committee. So what we have done in this case is to note those committees that belong to or oversight a particular ministry, and we have decided to put them together and then nominate a lead committee where they all work together. The aim is for synergy, because at the end of the day, no committee should work. We should all work together. So it's to have synergy, is to also work in collaboration. The essence is to effectively oversight those ministries. So we don't anticipate conflict. Instead, we anticipate cooperation. There will always be cooperation. we are all serving the same purpose. The whole aim is to oversight effectively. And the power of oversight is already domiciled in each of the committees. The investigative authority is already vested by Section 88 and 89 of the Constitution. So that is the authority every committee has. It's not that you have been made to work together with this number of committees or that this is a lead committee. That's not the source of your authority. The source of your authority as a committee is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 88 and 89. So every committee is at liberty to conduct its oversight. You are at liberty to visit the ministry you are oversighting, or you have, what is oversight? Oversight is to go and see how what you have appropriated has been utilized. That's the essence of oversight, to see whether there is waste, whether there is corruption, and all those things. So that there are 2 or 3 committees looking at a particular ministry's expenditure or income, I don't see the basis for a conflict. So each of them should know where their interest lies. If it is, for instance, the defense, the Air Force man knows the Air Force component of the Ministry of Defense. The Navy man knows the Navy component of it. The Army man, so there shouldn't be conflict at all. You know, it's for integrated action, is for cohesiveness, and to have synergy.
Okay, and I remember that your committee also proposed that no chairman of any committee can co-opt any member into his or her committee without the express approval or authorization of the speaker. And when you talk about this approval or authorization by the speaker, does it have to be on the floor of the House or at any point in time?
Communication with the speaker can take several forms. The speaker is the commander-in-chief of the House. You can see him in plenary, you can see him in his office, and so on and so forth. So if you have such a proposal, it doesn't need to come by way of motion. You should know how you get across to Mr. Speaker and make your request.
You will agree with me that it has been quite an interesting and informative conversation on Parliamentary Guide today. And we say a very big thank you to our Parliamentary Guide, Honorable Iduma, Enwo, Igariwey. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's the program for today. Do join us again for another episode of the program. My name is Mitire Ikwen. We thank you for your time. Goodbye.